So the home value is absolutely skyrocketing in 2020. I work with some buyers who tell me that they want to wait to buy. They want the bubble to pop and wait until the market crashes and they can scoop up some fantastic deals at the bottom of the market, right? They essentially want to try to time the market. And on the surface, I could kind of understand why they may think this, right? There's a lot of negative headlines out there. We are going to experience a foreclosure crisis in this country. That is a fact. And in fact, a lot of states, we've already started seeing them start foreclosing on homeowners who have not been making their mortgage payments. And that foreclosure crisis is going to run for the next year to 2 years. We're also going to see an eviction crisis in this market where home or renters are going to be evicted from their properties who have not been making their mortgage payment. On top of that, the actual landlords of those properties are really hurting right now. Many of them have not received a rent check from their tenants since the start of this whole thing back in March, and they are really hurting right now. So and they legally can't evict their tenants. So we may see a lot of that inventory hit the market. A lot of Airbnb owners are really hurting right now, and they're going to continue to hurt throughout the winter. So I could understand on the surface why so many people think that the housing market is going to get flooded with the short sales, foreclosures, and inventory and just crash, and that's when they want to try and buy a home and scoop up a great deal. But I'm here to tell you that that may not happen. And in fact, these high levels may be sustainable and they may even go higher over the next 12 months, not lower. So today I really want to kind of dive deep into this question. Should you buy a house now or should you wait 12 months and try to buy the house, try to time the market and buy the house during a dip? So the first thing I want to address is, are these high home values sustainable? And I want to take a look at this chart here. So this chart is from the Canadian Real Estate Association and it shows the average home value in Canada. And you go back to 2005, the average home value was about $250,000, not too different from the US average home value back then. But since then, home values have just risen non-stop in Canada. And today, the average home value as of September 2020 is $600,000 in Canada. So to answer your question, are these high levels of home value sustainable? Technically, yes, it is very possible. And we actually see very similar trends in isolated pockets in the US. You know, in Chicago, in New York City, in Los Angeles, most of California, just incredibly high home values. And this does pose a lot of repercussions. In Canada, for example, it is incredibly hard for first-time home buyers and for younger people to get into homes and actually buy a house. And you're seeing that the average age of a first-time home buyer is getting pushed back into their 30s rather than their early 20s. And this, I mean, that just kind of starts a whole avalanche of other issues that occur there. And in Canada, they are actively trying to crash their market. They're taking steps and increasing taxes and providing incentives to actually get their home values to come down to make it more sustainable for people to purchase a home as a first-time home buyer. So are these high levels sustainable? Yes, absolutely. And they could continue to rise up until we're seeing Canadian levels for our real estate market as well. Let's take a step back first and really evaluate why home values have just been skyrocketing in 2020. And there's really two main catalysts for this. And it all goes back to supply and demand. So the first catalyst is starting in the March timeframe. A lot of sellers literally took their homes off the market, and a lot of sellers never put their homes on the market in 2020 as well, just because of the whole current situation. I gotta be perfectly honest, I wouldn't be that comfortable having 15, 20, 30 complete strangers walking through my personal property. And if I had the luxury of just waiting, you know, I probably would do that as well and just not put my home up on the market. So what we've seen is the inventory has shrunk. We've seen less and less homes on the market. And the current situation that our nation is facing, it is getting worse. Right now is actually the worst we've ever had that situation in the US, and it's projected to get even worse over the winter months. So in my personal prediction, I'm guessing inventory is going to shrink even tighter over the next 6 months as this situation gets even worse in the country. So that's catalyst number one, is that the inventory has come way down. The next big catalyst is because the economy has been hurting so much, the Federal Reserve lowered their rate that they lend money to banks down to near zero. And what's interesting is that they're doing that to stimulate the economy and help small businesses and small business owners. But it is also really impacting the real estate market in kind of a positive way, in that a lot of buyers are getting incredibly low interest rates on their mortgages. And that wasn't really the intention of the Fed lowering their rates. That's just kind of a side effect of them trying to stimulate the economy. So the interest rates came way down, and we just saw a flood of buyers entering the market trying to lock in a low interest rate. So we have reduced sellers and we have increased buyers, which have turned it into an extreme seller's market. And the fact that this market, the home values have just been skyrocketing, may also be another incentive for a lot more buyers to try to get into the market and get into this bull run that the real estate market is on. So those are the kind of the two big catalysts that are stimulating the real estate market right now. Now, according to the National Association of Realtors, home values have increased 8% in the last 12 months. And typically home values increase about 3% a year. So it's increased more than twice the normal rate that we typically see in a year. So you may be asking yourself right now, why would I want to buy a house at the top of the market when home values are so high? And the answer to that is that your mortgage payment is actually lower today than it would have been 12 months ago, even though you may be paying 8% more today. And to show this, let's head over to mortgagecalculator.org. This is one of my favorite websites for figuring out what your mortgage payment would be. And so let's say you wanted to buy a house for $400,000. And just for easy math, let's say you don't put any down payment, so maybe a USDA loan or a VA loan. So loan amount's $475,000. And if we look, 12 months ago, October 2019, interest rates were about 3.75%. And if you come down here, let's say property taxes, let's say 1%, so that'd be about $4,000 a year. Let's say nothing in PMI for easy math, and we hit calculate. And we can see here that your monthly mortgage payment would be about $2,269 a month on a $400,000 house at 3.75% interest rate. So now let's say that we're buying the same house in right now, 2020, and that house has risen in value by 8%. So you get $432,000. So you're paying $32,000 more right now than you would have last year. But your interest rates are also much, much lower. And personally, I'm seeing interest rates as low as 2.5%, but let's just say 2.75%. That's the interest rate that I got on my own home just about 3 months ago. Keep everything the same, and we come down here, and your mortgage payment is $2,180. So even though you are now paying $32,000 more for that property than you would have last year, your mortgage payment is still $89 cheaper today than it would have been 12 months ago. And just let that sink in for a moment, because in my personal opinion, what your monthly mortgage payment is far more important than what the actual sales price is of the home. And this is what we typically see in the real estate market. As interest rates come down, those home buyers can now afford a more expensive house for the same monthly mortgage payment, and they're literally just throwing money at properties to lock them in, and that drives home prices up. So as interest rates go down, home prices go up. We've seen this pattern time after time in the US market. And so your next question may be, but how long are they going to keep interest rates low? Well, the Federal Reserve has already come out and said that they're most likely going to keep their lending rate to banks at near zero until at least 2023, and it may even be longer than that. And in fact, if our economy continues to hurt and go down, which it very well may during these winter months, there's even talk that the Fed may go into negative interest rates. So with a negative interest rate loan, the bank would actually pay you interest in order to take a loan out from them. Now that's actually pretty speculative, and we don't know if that's actually going to happen, but it very well may. So if we go back to the question of should you buy a house now or wait for the market crash and for the bubble to burst, I would say if you would have bought a home 12 months ago, then you should still buy a house today. Your monthly mortgage payment is still going to be cheaper than it was 12 months ago, so why wouldn't you buy a house today? And if you're concerned that these home values may not be sustainable, look at Canada. They went from the average home value of $250,000 to $600,000 without any market crash or any bubbles bursting. What I tell my clients is don't try to time the market. If you want to try to time the stock market or the cryptocurrency market, that's fine. But when it comes to your housing market, don't try to time the market. Buy a home when it's most convenient for you. It is extremely hard for anybody to accurately make a prediction of what the real estate market is going to be in the short-term future. But what I can confidently say is that in 30 years from now, I am extremely confident that your home's value will be much higher than it is today. At 20 years from now, I'm extremely confident it'll be much higher. At 10 years from now, I am extremely confident it's going to be much, much higher than it is today. At 5 years from now, I'm pretty confident it's going to be much higher than it is today. And at 2 years from now, I'm pretty confident it's going to be much higher than it is today. When you get down to 12 months or 6 months from now, you know, who knows? That is much, much harder to predict on the short term. And the reason for it is that there is one wild card. There's an X factor to all of this that we can't accurately predict no matter how many analytics or charts that we look at. And that is what the government is going to do, what your politicians are going to do, even at the state level, with your governors, all the way up to the president, all the way up to Congress and the Senate. You know, for a great example of this is that I'm pretty confident most of us thought that we're going to see more than one stimulus check. But we've now gone almost 9 months, and the only stimulus any of us have received is a $1,200 check. So what your government does in the next 12 to 24 months is going to be a big catalyst for what the housing market also does. And the truth is that is almost impossible for any of us to predict. But like I said, 5, 10, 20, 30 years from now, I am very confident your home's value is going to be much, much higher than it is today. So if you ask me, I say buy a home now. So if you want to see my video breaking down the 10 techniques that I'm using with my home buyers today to actually get our offers accepted within this extreme seller's market, check out this video. I did it right here. And if you want more real estate and financial advice, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell icon to get notified every time I upload a new video. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you over in the next video.